You were recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and to the ranking member. And it is an important discussion around international taxes and digital services specifically, and I look forward to working with my colleagues on those issues. Mr. Brady, it's good to see you. But unfortunately, we also need to deal with the elephant in the room, per se. And so as many of my colleagues here today pat themselves on the back for showering multinational corporations with tax breaks, working people here in America and small businesses here in America are being hit with the largest tax increase in 32 years. Let's talk about some facts. The Trump tariffs are the largest U.S. tax increase as a percentage of GDP since 1993. According to the Tax Foundation, the Trump tariffs threaten to wipe out the very tax cuts that Republicans keep touting. And there's proof. Just this week, the Wall Street Journal reported that U.S. manufacturing has contracted for the 9th consecutive month. So who pays the price for these blanket tariffs? American consumers and American businesses. Let me repeat that. American consumers and American businesses are footing the bill and feeling the pain. And Mr. President, affordability is not a hoax. It is reality, and your policies are making life more expensive for Americans, not bringing down cost as you promised. So while Republicans praise themselves for helping the biggest corporations, let's remember that the average American household is paying an extra $1,700 this year because of these tariffs. That's $1,700 that could be used to pay groceries and rent or health care. Professor Clausing, my colleagues want to talk about competitiveness, so let's talk about how Donald Trump's chaotic tariffs are decimating Nevada's tourism economy. From January through September of this year, Las Vegas welcomed 2.5 million fewer visitors. Harry Reid International has seen a 6.4% year-over-year drop in total passengers and a 13.5% decline in international arrivals. And as Professor Alan Feldman of UNLV's International Gaming Institute put it, a lot of the state's economy is tied up in our tourism sector. Your testimony explains that these tariffs raise prices on intermediate goods, suppress demand, and weaken U.S. exports. In Nevada, where our economy is really entirely focused on hotels to restaurants to gaming, it depends on price-sensitive tourism and global supply chains. These shocks are pushing businesses to the brink. Would you agree that Trump's tariffs are directly harming Nevada's tourism economy and accelerating the financial distress we're seeing among small businesses and mid-sized businesses, yes or no?
Absolutely agree.
Thank you. As you also know, businesses are scrambling because the Trump tariffs were imposed without congressional authority, something that I think all of us should be concerned about. And they've slammed every importer in America. Just this week, Costco, one of the largest retailers in the country, filed a lawsuit because they want their tariff money back if the Supreme Court rules these tariffs illegal. And frankly, they can afford to sue. But the small businesses in my district, the family-owned importer, the toy shops, the restaurant supply companies, they don't have legal departments. They don't have the cash to take the federal government to court. They just pay the tariff bill and swallow the cost. If this committee is serious about making U.S. businesses competitive, it must recognize that the ability to sue for tariff refunds can't be the dividing line between which businesses survive and which go bankrupt. That's why I'm working on legislation right now to ensure small businesses can receive tariff refunds automatically and quickly. If these tariffs are struck down, as we expect they will be, without having to hire a lawyer to take on the federal government. Professor, you've testified that these blanket tariffs raise costs and weaken America's global competitiveness. In Nevada, small and mid-sized businesses are absorbing those costs, potentially without any path to a tariff refund. So how does our system where only the largest firms can protect their tariff refund rights, distort competition, and undermine U.S. firms operating in international markets?
Thank you. Yes, the unleveled playing field is a very real phenomenon when it comes to tariff exemptions and the compliance costs associated with these tariffs. It's very hard to even figure out the rules, which are constantly changing, much more complicated than it used to be, and that's a higher share of cost for a small business than it would be for a very large one. And this is a more general problem in our tax code. If you look at the favorable regimes that we've provided for multinational companies, they get taxed at a much, much lower rate than domestic small businesses, which pay the full freight. So this is a systematic problem through which our tax code is encouraging market concentration.
Thank you so much. I yield back.